Disney seems to be leaving California out of California Adventure as they go for aliens and the undead, or maybe the actual dead. Also, these lands seem to be pretty small and the cast-offs of rides that couldn't go into Epcot. Let's talk about that on That Park Place. Hello, I am Jonas J. Campbell, an investigative reporter for That Park Place. And here with me is not only West Coast theme park guru, Mr. VashSky, but the boss man himself, WDW Pro. Pro, you seem
My
to be
friends
pretty
just call
fired
me
up.
Pro, Jonas. We've dropped the... I'm officially, after the destruction of Frontierland, I'm officially dropping my WDW. I'm just
Right.
Pro now. Maybe I can be Epic Pro. I don't know.
I'll go with it. Plus, I pretty much have to go with whatever you say since you are the boss man. So D23 happened and they did the experiences panel. And as Disney is wont to do, they said, we have shovel-ready jobs here. They talked about ground moving in order for all of these things to happen. And the worst kept secret at Disney, because Bob Iger said the words Avatar Land on previous calls and at conferences and things like that, they announced Avatar Land would be coming to Disneyland. But when they said Disneyland, they actually meant Disney California Adventure here. We think this is part of Disneyland Forward, and it kind of has to be. And also the big secret here is that they can't even start on this until 2026.
There's another big story, too, here, and that is that if you look at the concept art, if the concept art stays true, and it seems to match up with the physical models they have, this land is rather locked in with perhaps only one entrance and exit point. And that could point, by the way, to a smaller vision for Disneyland Forward that might have been proper to have shown everybody involved in the approval process before we made it to this this stage.
I will say this. Disneyland Forward, they have pitched this as something very, very ambitious. And we kind of know that it can't be necessarily that ambitious because in the first 10 years, they've only committed themselves to $1.9 billion. That doesn't buy you a whole lot of theme park, especially when you add in the development costs associated with developing what is a largely undeveloped land. So we kind of knew that these plans weren't necessarily going to be super, super ambitious, at least not the ones that they pitched to the city. Avatar, as part of Disneyland Forward, does make a lot of sense. And also, too, if we connect that to the other big announcement that was made, and that was really on nobody's radar at the time, this kind of Coco boat ride experience, they announced this not starting construction until 2026. Now, that's a very pivotal date because if you remember what has to be done as part of Disneyland Forward, this parking structure on the other side of Harbor has to be developed first in order to unlock a lot of the real estate that they have plans for when expanding Disney California Adventure. You'll note that right here, as you can see, this bus drop-off area and rideshare drop-off area is going to be relocated with that parking structure that goes up in this area over here. Now, the problem is that, you can't start on any of that construction until that parking structure is established, which is why we got the 2026 date, and which is why I'm thinking that Coco will take up residence in this Hollywoodland expansion pad up to the north of DCA. And I think I agree with you, Pro. We were talking before the show. I think Avatar is slated to be included across from Disneyland Drive here on the Symbol lot.
But it's going to take a long time to get to that one. And I have to say this, Vash, that is going to be the fastest parking garage you have ever seen put together if
Absolutely.
they actually get to 2026. I mean, Disney does not move at that kind of a speed. So ambitious, optimistic, hard to say. I don't know what's going to happen here, but that's maybe December 31st, 2026.
So
historically, they have put up those parking structures very quickly, sometimes too quickly. Actually, the Mickey and Friends parking structure is suffering from structural problems because of how quickly they have gone up. But I agree with you, it will be ambitious.
Before we started, Vash, you had pointed out a few things about this beforehand. And then when I pointed out these details to Pro as well, that this Avatar ride might actually be based off of the existing Shanghai Pirates of the Caribbean ride. There was an audible reaction on when we did the experiences live stream when they showed the boat ride concept art. It was not a positive reaction. Can you explain that for anybody who doesn't understand?
Yes, I believe people are maybe making connections to Navi River Journey as maybe what we're possibly getting here at Disney California Adventure. I will say that the long-standing rumor has been that the Imagineers want to duplicate the Shanghai Pirates of the Caribbean ride system for Disneyland. And to put it in Disney California Adventure along with Coco, that will add tremendous amounts of capacity and maybe some atmospheric attractions that, well, frankly, Disney California Adventure doesn't have many of. Disneyland obviously has Pirates of the Caribbean, they have Haunted Mansion, Small World, but DCA doesn't really have that. These two things might augment that roster in a way that's very, very satisfactory. Also, too, Coco, they've wanted a Coco attraction in DCA for quite some time. You have a large Hispanic population out here in Southern California, so it makes a lot of sense to get that integration. Also, too, this also connects with maybe their defunct concepts of adding Coco to Rio del Tiempo or the Mexican Pavilion attraction over there in Epcot. So that's interesting as well.
Right. With that being said, if you could bring up that concept art for the Coco ride. So the boat ride concept for Avatar on top of the boat ride concept for Coco, this is strange for Disney while they're trying to do things cheaply.
A lot of boats.
It raises a lot of questions for me on if these are concept art or if these are actually what they're intending to do. Again, they were talking about everything is in active development, which is, I'm going to say that I would like a citation from a reliable source on what the difference between Blue Sky and active development is for the Walt Disney Company. But this to me looks like Grand Fiesta Tours overlay, as opposed to Disney all of a sudden coming out of the blue and saying, you know what we're going to do? We're going to do a lot more boat rides. Water-based attractions are not really going well for Disney right now. They can't even reskin water theme attractions successfully. So why would they do two boat-based attractions at DCA in such a short period of time? This does not sound to me like two ideas that were paired together in the retheming of DCA, which there's not much California in Mexico or in outer space, but whatever. This to me sounds like they slapped two concepts together and said, oh, we planned it the whole time.
Yeah, these concepts seemed very, very rushed. And I think to go off of a previous point that we had made here at That Park Place, I think this is definitely a response to Epic Universe for one, but also two, I think, the fans demanding more, that these things actually be shovel ready or not Blue Sky, that these things be more fleshed out. I think they were trying to respond to that in the only way that they knew how. When you see concept art like what was featured with Avatar or with Coco, I mean, a lot of that's grain of salt still because we know how these projects develop. I mean, look at the Tiana's Bayou Adventure art that first premiered. That's very different from what we actually received. And so I think that same grain of salt with those two projects that we could apply, with the hindsight of 2020 vision.
Right.
And we should apply that to here.
Let me bury this in sodium. We've got this boat ride concept art that I agree, it looks like it was just confiscated from Epcot. Here's why a boat ride for California Adventure in this location with this IP makes no sense. One, the area that Vash is talking about, and I agree it has to be the spot, small footprint. Boat rides take up big footprints. The reason boat rides take up big footprints is because they almost always have to be about one level. There are exceptions to that, and we could identify those. But boat rides are typically about one level. Now, you go up above that, you get into major expense a la Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Now, on top of that, when you're talking about Coco, you're talking about an IP that would lend itself to a hanging vehicle, okay? And the reason for that is because of the alebrijes, which are the spirit guides in Coco. I mean, to me, this IP screams out that you should be riding on the back of the alebrijes, that you should not be in a boat. Because if you look at all of the art for Coco, the Land of the Dead, right, in Dia de los Muertos, all of that is extremely vertical, and part of the interesting nature of the way it's designed is the verticality of the Land of the Dead. And so to then put that into just a boat ride, to me, that feels like the least efficient way of telling that story in a dark ride. So anyway, if you've got a small footprint, you want to be able to go up and down levels very easily with tight corners and all that. So with a dark ride, you would want something that you can do that with, a la the old style Fantasyland rides. Just a thought.
Now, that's a really good point. One thing I also want to point out here, as we're talking about small expansions, to go back to the Avatar concept here, we're going to talk about the Avengers announcements in a different video, because that's they're betting big on Marvel at the expense of Star Wars at this point. But you think about Avengers Campus has essentially had one attraction, two if you count Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout, which is a reskin of an existing attraction here, and we're just now getting to the point where they're going to be fleshing out that land to where it's actually a land as opposed to something that you kind of walk through. It's not been the hit I think that they were hoping that it would be here. If it takes that long, because how long has Avengers Campus been there?
What has been a hit? What has been a hit for Disney parks lately?
That's a really good question. Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway? I don't know. A Cosmic Rewind has been a hit. No one, the people who are willing to sacrifice the sanctity of their stomachs to go on Cosmic Rewind appear to love it.
By the way, if this concept art comes to pass, that's a screen. They're all pointing at a screen. There's no animatronic that's going to come out that big out of water. That's just flat out a screen.
Yep. Okay. And which would lend itself to the idea that it is the Shanghai Pirates concept as opposed to something else. That being said, we want to throw this to our commenters. What do you think about this situation? Do you think that Avatar Land is coming in the form that has been described? We still haven't seen that form. Avatar Fire and Ash, the next movie, doesn't even come out until the end of next year if James Cameron doesn't let Disney know that it's delayed. So, not going to see that anytime soon. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Like this video. If you like this video, go check out Pro over on the channel that no longer has his name, that being the WD Pro channel.
Epic Pro, I tell you.
And consider subscribing to That Park Plays for all the news. That should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.